The emergency klaxons hadn't stopped wailing for 3 full rotations. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 47 species sat in various states of panic, their translators struggling to keep up with the overlapping shouts of alarm. Ambassador Zeldar of the Valerian Collective stood at the central podium, all 4 of his arms trembling as he projected a holographic image above the assembly. The planet rotating slowly in the air looked deceptively beautiful with swirling white clouds, blue oceans, and green-brown landmasses. Esteemed colleagues, Zeldar's voice cracked through the speakers, our worst fears have been confirmed. Ancient texts we discovered in the Forbidden Archives speak of this world. The legends were true. The Crucible exists, and worse, it is inhabited. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. The crystalline delegate from Sector 9 shattered 2 of her appendages in shock. The methane breathers in the observation tanks began bubbling frantically. In the back corner, Marcus Chen, the human representative to the council, leaned forward in his seat with a confused frown. He pulled up his data pad, scrolling through the emergency session notes he'd apparently missed while grabbing coffee. His eyebrows climbed higher as he read, and a small, bewildered smile started forming at the corner of his mouth. This was going to be interesting. Zeldar's primary eyes dimmed with barely contained dread as he began reciting from the ancient texts, his voice taking on the dramatic quality of someone sharing ghost stories around a campfire. For 17,000 cycles, our ancestors spoke in hushed tones of the Crucible. A world so hostile, so deliberately engineered for suffering, that it was said to be the ultimate proving ground. The texts claim an ancient, now extinct civilization created it to forge the perfect warriors, beings capable of surviving anything the galaxy could throw at them. He manipulated the hologram, zooming in on various features while the council members recoiled. The gravity alone is catastrophic. 1.0 standard Gs, enough to crush the unprepared over time, to compress bones and strain organs until failure. The atmosphere, while containing oxygen, is laced with corrosive compounds that degrade tissue. Nitrogen comprises 78% of the air, an asphyxiant that dilutes the very breath of life. The Hive Queen of Zentari clicked her mandibles in horror. Surely nothing could survive such conditions? Oh, it gets worse, Zeldar continued, warming to his subject with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been researching this nightmare for weeks. The planet is infested with apex predators. Creatures with toxins potent enough to kill in minutes. Beasts weighing multiple tons with territorial aggression. Microscopic parasites that invade the body and consume you from within. He paused for effect, noting the green pallor spreading across several delegates. But perhaps most terrifying is the climate instability. Temperatures can swing from flesh-freezing -40 degrees to blood-boiling 50 degrees Celsius. Some regions experience both extremes within a single planetary rotation. Violent atmospheric disturbances create winds exceeding 300 kilometers per hour. Water falls from the sky with enough force to erode stone. From the back of the chamber came a sound that shouldn't have been there. A soft chuckle, quickly stifled. Every eyestalk, optical sensor, and visual organ swiveled toward Marcus Chen, who had his hand clamped over his mouth, shoulders shaking slightly. The confusion on the faces around him was palpable. Marcus cleared his throat, realizing that every being in the chamber was now staring at him with expressions ranging from confusion to outright offense. He stood up slowly, raising one hand in apology. Sorry. I don't mean to be rude, but Ambassador Zeldar, could you display the coordinates of this Crucible planet? Zeldar's scales rippled with irritation. Representative Chen, this is hardly the time for geographical curiosity. We are discussing an existential threat to galactic peace. Just humor me for a second. With an exasperated sigh that translated through 3 harmonics, Zeldar displayed the spatial coordinates beneath the hologram. Marcus looked at them, looked at the planet, and then started laughing. Not a polite chuckle this time, but a full, genuine belly laugh that echoed through the stunned silence of the Grand Chamber. Oh man, oh this is good, Marcus gasped between laughs, wiping tears from his eyes. Zeldar, buddy, I have some news for you. That legendary death world you're all terrified of? That's Earth. That's my home planet. We call it Terra in official documents, but yeah, that's where I'm from. Where all 8.2 billion humans currently live. The silence that followed was absolute, then the crystalline delegate from Sector 9 simply disintegrated into powder. The medical team rushed to collect her remains for reconstitution. The methane breather's tanks had to be emergency drained when they hyperventilated into unconsciousness. 3 different species activated their personal shield generators, as if Marcus himself might suddenly become hostile. Impossible, Zeldar whispered, his translator barely picking it up. No species could evolve on such a world. You would need to be practically indestructible. You would need redundant organ systems, enhanced cellular repair, aggressive immune responses, dense skeletal structures. Well, yeah, Marcus shrugged. I mean, you just described basic human anatomy. Look, I can prove it. Let me just pull up some tourism videos. We've got a whole industry based on getting people to visit different parts of Earth. You know, for vacation and stuff. The word vacation caused another crystalline delegate to crack ominously. Marcus connected his data pad to the central projector with the enthusiasm of someone about to show off their family photo album, completely oblivious to the existential horror dawning on the faces around him. Okay, so let me give you the grand tour. Marcus pulled up the first video with the pride of a parent showing off their kid's school play. The hologram shifted to display a sun-drenched coastline with crystal blue water and golden sand. This is Australia, one of our most popular tourist destinations. Beautiful, right? Before anyone could respond, the video panned to show a translucent bell-shaped creature floating in the water. Oh, that's a box jellyfish. Venom can kill you in about 3 minutes. Super painful too, from what I hear. And over there, he zoomed in on something moving through the sand. That's a blue-ringed octopus. Cute little guy, but one bite contains enough tetrodotoxin to kill 26 adult humans. No antidote, by the way. The Hive Queen's antennae were vibrating at frequencies that suggested imminent cardiac arrest. And see that person in the water? Marcus pointed to a human on a surfboard riding a wave. That's Dave Mitchell. He does this every morning before work. Sometimes sharks swim right under his board. He thinks it's cool. Sharks, someone squeaked. Oh yeah, 3 to 4 meter long predators with multiple rows of serrated teeth. They bite people sometimes, usually by accident. We have warning flags and everything. Anyway, moving on. The hologram shifted to an underwater scene so deep the water appeared black. The pressure readings displayed on the side made several delegates' breathing apparatuses malfunction. This is the Mariana Trench, deepest part of our oceans. Pressure down there is about 1,000 times surface atmosphere. Would crush most of your ships like tin cans. But look, there's a whole ecosystem down there thriving. We send people down in submersibles for fun. Well, for science too, but also fun. Marcus swiped to the next location with disturbing enthusiasm. A vast expanse of sand stretched across the display, heat waves shimmering above the surface. Death Valley, California. Temperature reading there hit 54.4 Celsius back in 2020. People died there, sure, but mostly we turned it into a national park. See those folks hiking? They're on vacation. Deliberately chose to be there. Why? The question came from at least 7 species simultaneously. I honestly have no idea, Marcus admitted cheerfully. But here's the opposite extreme. Antarctica. Negative 89.2 Celsius on record. We have research stations there. People volunteer to spend months in those conditions. For science, they say, but I think some of them just like the quiet. He was really getting into it now, practically bouncing on his feet as he cycled through images. This is the Amazon rainforest. Humidity near 100%, temperature around 35 Celsius, and home to approximately 10% of all species on Earth. Poisonous frogs, venomous snakes, insects that burrow under your skin and lay eggs, plants that cause chemical burns on contact, parasites, diseases we haven't even named yet. Last year, 300,000 tourists went there for the adventure. A wet slapping sound indicated that the aquatic delegate from Tethys Prime had fainted in their tank. Oh, and this is Mount Everest. 8,849 meters tall. The air has one-third the oxygen of sea level. Temperatures drop to -60 Celsius. Your body literally starts dying from lack of oxygen above 7,000 meters. We call it the death zone, which probably should have been a hint, but over 800 people try to climb it every year. Some of them make it. Marcus paused, noticing that Zeldar had sat down heavily, all four arms hanging limply. "You people are insane," the Valerian ambassador whispered. "I mean, yeah, probably," Marcus agreed, grinning wider. "But wait, there's more." Marcus leaned against the podium, clearly enjoying himself far too much at this point. "So here's the thing, and I really need you all to brace yourselves for this one. Everything I just showed you? That's just normal life on Earth. Our actual military training is significantly harder." The collective groan that echoed through the chamber sounded like a dying space whale. "Yeah, so our soldiers train in conditions that are deliberately worse than everyday civilian life. We make them run marathons, that's 42 kilometers, in full gear weighing about 40 kilograms, in the heat, just to see if they can handle it. We have obstacle courses designed to test maximum physical limits. Rope climbs, wall scaling, crawling through mud under barbed wire while sergeants yell at you." He pulled up a video of a military boot camp. Humans were doing push-ups in the rain, running up hills with logs on their shoulders, and swimming through freezing water. This is basic training. Everyone who joins the military does this. It lasts anywhere from 8 to 13 weeks depending on the branch. We deprive them of sleep, push them past exhaustion, teach them to survive with minimal resources in hostile environments. "That is torture," declared the ethicist from the Harmony Collective. "We literally call some of it survival, evasion, resistance, and escape training," Marcus said with a shrug. "And here is the absolutely wild part. Civilians do this stuff voluntarily. For recreation." He switched to footage of the Ironman triathlon. 3.8-kilometer swim, 180-kilometer bike ride, 42-kilometer run. People pay money to do this. They train for months just to suffer through it. We have races where people run 160 kilometers through deserts. We have competitions where people drag giant rocks and flip trucks. For trophies and bragging rights. "Why does your species hate itself?" someone asked, their voice breaking. "Character building," Marcus replied, as if that explained everything. That he gestured to the entrance where a young human in a maintenance uniform was fixing a wall panel. "Hey Danny, come here for a second." Danny Rodriguez looked up, startled. "Sir? When did you finish basic training?" Last summer, sir." "Why?" Marcus turned back to the horrified council. "Danny here survived the Crucible, your legendary Deathworld training program, just 9 months ago." "Danny, how was it?" Danny scratched his head thoughtfully. "I mean, it was tough, sure. But honestly? Kind of fun in retrospect. Made some good friends. The drill sergeant was harsh but fair. Food was terrible though. I actually missed the obstacle courses when I got my assignment." He smiled nostalgically. "Simpler times, you know." 3 more delegates required medical assistance. Marcus clapped Danny on the shoulder. "Thanks, buddy. Back to work." As Danny wandered off, whistling cheerfully, Marcus turned back to face an audience that looked like they had collectively stared into the abyss and found it staring back. "So anyway, that is what we consider standard preparation for military service. Any questions?" The silence stretched uncomfortably until the War Master of the Kryn Empire, a species renowned for producing the galaxy's most fearsome fighters, slowly raised one clawed appendage. "Our elite shock troops," he began, his voice hollow, "train in 0.7 standard gravity with precisely filtered atmospheric composition, controlled temperature between 18 and 22 Celsius, and full medical support standing by at all times. This program has a 30% washout rate and is considered the most rigorous in the known galaxy." He paused, mandibles clicking in what might have been despair. "We have been celebrating our warriors as the pinnacle of galactic military prowess for 6 generations. "That's nice," Marcus offered diplomatically, trying not to sound condescending and failing. "I mean, 30% washout rate is pretty respectable." "What is your military washout rate?" the War Master asked, though his tone suggested he was not sure he wanted to know. "Depends on the program. Basic training is usually around 10 to 15%. Special forces can hit 70 to 80% for the really intense programs. But here is the thing, and I really cannot stress this enough, most humans survive to adulthood. On Earth, where we raise our children." Zelthar's voice was barely a whisper. "Your offspring survive childhood on the Crucible?" "Well, yeah. I mean, not all of them historically, but modern medicine has really improved the odds. We let kids play outside and all that stuff I showed you. We have these things called playgrounds where children climb high structures and jump off them for entertainment. They run around, fall down, scrape their knees, get back up. Builds resilience." Marcus pulled up another image. "This is youth soccer. We have children as young as 5 years old running around in the heat, crashing into each other, sometimes breaking bones. Then there's school sports, summer camps where we send kids into the woods to learn survival skills, swimming in lakes with actual wild animals. And they willingly participate," someone asked weakly. "Most of them beg their parents to sign them up," Marcus confirmed. "Oh, and let's not forget the immune system development. Human children are constantly exposed to pathogens. They get sick, they recover, they get stronger. We actually have research suggesting that growing up too clean makes you weaker. So we let kids play in dirt, share food, all that stuff." Zelthar had all 4 hands pressed against his face, his scales cycling through colors that the translator unhelpfully identified as existential dread and philosophical crisis. "We have been fearing the return of legendary super warriors," the Valerian ambassador mumbled through his hands. "And they are just standard human children who played outside." "Pretty much," Marcus agreed brightly, the supreme arbiter of the council, a floating crystalline entity that rarely spoke, finally chimed in with a voice like wind through glass. "We convened this emergency session to draft legislation preventing the weaponization of the Crucible. Clearly, we must prohibit humanity from using this planet to create enhanced warriors or sell training services to other species." Marcus blinked. Then he started laughing again, this time with genuine disbelief. "I'm sorry, you want to ban us from our own planet? The one where 8 billion of us currently live? Where we were born, where our entire civilization exists? You want to make it illegal for us to be home?" The arbiter dimmed slightly. "We had not considered the logistics." "Yeah, that might be a problem," Marcus said, his voice dripping with sarcasm thick enough to bottle. "But hey, I've got a better idea. Since you're all so concerned about it, why don't we open Earth up for allied species training programs? You know, extreme environment conditioning, survival courses, cultural exchange. We could make it a whole thing." The reaction was immediate and visceral. The delegate from Harmony Collective actually hissed, a sound their species only made when confronting mortal danger. The Kryn War Master's combat instincts activated, deploying his personal shield. Someone in the back shouted something the translator rendered as, "Absolutely not, you Deathworlders." Finally, one small voice emerged from the chaos. The junior representative from Quilox, a timid species known for their cautious nature, raised a tentacle hesitantly. "Is there, perhaps, a safe location on Earth?" Somewhere less hostile where diplomatic functions might occur without risking death. Marcus smiled, and somehow that smile was more terrifying than anything he had shown them so far. Oh sure, we've got plenty of safe spots. Let me tell you about those. We've got these great resort areas, Marcus began, pulling up images of pristine beaches and luxurious hotels. Perfect weather, controlled environments, full amenities. Hawaii, the Maldives, the French Riviera. Completely safe by our standards. The council members leaned forward slightly, hope flickering across their various features. Of course, humans constantly complain that these places are too boring. Not enough excitement. That's why extreme tourism is such a booming industry back home. People get restless when things are too easy. The hope died instantly. Zeldar looked at Marcus with all four eyes, his voice carrying the weight of a civilization-altering realization. You are not the product of the Crucible. You are the Crucible. Your entire species is the weapon that legendary planet was supposed to create, except you made yourselves through sheer evolutionary stubbornness. Marcus considered that for a moment, then shrugged. Huh. That's actually kind of poetic. I'm going to use that at parties. The Supreme Arbiter's voice rang out, hollow and defeated. This council is adjourned. Indefinitely. We need time to process the implications of humanity's existence. As the delegates fled the chamber with varying levels of panic and dignity, Marcus called out cheerfully, "Hey, the offer still stands. Anyone wants to visit Earth for a nice relaxing beach vacation, just let me know. We've got great sunscreen now, really cuts down on the skin cancer." The chamber emptied in record time. Marcus sat back down, pulled out his data pad, and sent a message to his supervisor. Council meeting concluded. They are aware of Earth now. Recommend we update first contact protocols to include trigger warnings for Deathworld revelations. Also, we might need a new tourism marketing strategy. Current approach may be too aggressive. He paused, then added, on the bright side, I do not think we need to worry about invasions anymore. Outside the chamber, Zeldar stood with the Kryn War Master, both staring at the holographic display of Earth still rotating peacefully in the corridor. They call it the pale blue dot, Zeldar whispered. They wrote poetry about how fragile and precious it is. Their idea of fragile would shatter our strongest battle stations, the War Master replied. I need a drink. Their beverages are probably toxic to us. I know. That makes it worse somehow. Back in the chamber, Marcus was already planning his next presentation. Wait until they found out about human history. The wars, the survival of ice ages, the extinction events humanity had weathered, but that could wait for next session, assuming the council ever agreed to meet again. He smiled to himself, imagining the looks on their faces when they learned that humans had survived not one, but 5 major extinction events on Earth, including the one that wiped out creatures even larger and more terrifying than anything the galaxy had ever seen. The galaxy had feared an ancient legend, a mythical proving ground. Designed to forge unstoppable warriors, they just never imagined that the proving ground would build itself a civilization, develop coffee, invent the internet, and casually explore the stars while complaining that space was too empty and boring. Humans did not conquer the Crucible, they just called it home and got on with their lives, and somehow, that was infinitely more terrifying.